that's where the hidden revenue sits, is in that customer base. If customers are happy, what do? They refer other people. They will share their experiences, and they will stay longer.
Customer experience wisdom, a dash of travel talk. We've been cleared for takeoff.
The best meals are served outside and require a passport.
Time for takeoff, CX Passport peeps. Today, I am truly excited to introduce Anita Toth, the Hidden Revenue Hunter. Anita helps small to mid-market B2B SaaS companies find hidden revenue in their customer base. As the founder of ATI, Anita uses research and analytics to boost customer lifetime value, cut churn, and grow market share. Clients use her Customer Retention 360 system to transform how they think about their customers, focusing on deeper, sustainable profits instead of just a quick hit temporary revenue growth. With a curiosity score of 10 out of 10, Anita's passion for uncovering hidden revenue opportunities is infectious. Join us as we explore her journey and insights on customer retention. Anita, welcome to CX Passport.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Rick. I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Let's get after it. Absolutely. And folks, Anita's coming to us from Canada, I from the US. So we are getting a global or at least an international episode today. So that's kind of fun crossing our borders here. Anita, I talked about hidden revenue. I mentioned it a couple times there in the beginning of the introduction. I definitely want to get to hidden revenue and finding your best customers. But first, I just kind of want to start with the origin story. What got you interested in CX in the first place? What drew you to customer experience work? And did that curiosity score apply here?
It was more like two really, really bad experiences back to back.
Oh, good. This will be juicy.
Oh, yeah. It was, I don't even know how many years ago now, probably 7 or 8 years ago. And this is when the gurus were really big all over the internet. And, they're selling this and selling that. So I purchased from one. And there was a live event that was like 7 months away. And I couldn't go. So I asked if I could transfer my ticket. And they absolutely refused. It was like worth $150. Nothing big, maybe $200. Nothing major. I've ran events before, so when you're talking that length out, usually you can work around those policies. So long story short, they said no. The owner of the company, Mr. Guru himself, got on and essentially told me to take a hike, and I was like, all right, so you just lost now, not just me, but everybody who's going to ask me about you because they know I just recently purchased your course. I'm going to tell them about their experience. So he not only lost that, whatever it was that I may have spent with him, lifetime value is very just that, entry level. But then there were several people, I'd probably say 5 or 6, who never purchased from him as a result of my story. So hot on the heels of that, another guru promises, became a customer and went, what the hell? This is not at all what I thought I was buying. And same thing, reached out to support and they're like, oh, well, whatever excuse they gave me. No effort to try to fix the problem. So what did I do? I churned within 14 days. And that was that. And I was like, so that's 2 of them. And it was like literally back to back. And thousands of dollars, I think in total, when I made these purchases, it was about $5,000 I had spent. So I was like, no, I'm done with this. Like, this is terrible. And that got me involved in customer experience. Like, how can we make the customer's experience better? And then by making that better, they do things like refer, buy more, wow, all of these things, the exact opposite of what I had just experienced.
So you've done the thing that you hear a lot about of which business should you start? Well, start when you see a problem. And that's exactly what you did. You saw a problem and you're like, there's some ways that we can make this better. There's a particular thing that I'm seeing going on right now, right? And I think it's influenced maybe by economy or perception of economy. Are we in an economic difficult time or whatever? But regardless, there's plenty of companies that think that is the case. Well, then they go straight down the cost-cutting path. Now, I am a huge fan of efficiency. That you can't have a bunch of waste in business or anything like that. But I think you and I have both seen the pendulum swing way too far towards the cost cutting side. A better path, I believe, to profit, and I think you do as well, comes from revenue growth. You talk about that hidden revenue. I wanted to get back to it. Here we are. What do you mean by hidden revenue? How can a company actually tap into that hidden revenue?
So it actually relates directly back to customers. And
makes sense.
Surprisingly, it's like totally opposite of what we've been taught. Cost cutting, right? Mm-hmm. This is it. Times are tough. Cut costs. I absolutely agree. But what tends to happen is customers then suffer. Right. So when a company is actually trying to hold on as much as they can, if cash flow isn't as good as it was, it seems kind of contrary to then be like, okay, we should invest more heavily in our current customers and making their experience better.
Yeah.
That often doesn't happen when they're focused on just cutting costs. Right? The customer experience suffers, especially things like customer service. I don't know about you, but sometimes some of these wait times are crazy long just to get a question answered or a problem solved. So that's where the hidden revenue sits, is in that customer base. Again, if customers are happy, what do? They refer other people. They will share their experiences and they will stay longer. That's where the revenue is hidden, but you have to have systems to tap into those. And cutting costs, that's one part, but you really, really have to question the costs that we're cutting and what we're cutting. How is it affecting our customers? And are we actually increasing our churn as a result of those cost-cutting measures?
Okay, so it's in that reducing of churn. If it's a company that has that kind of ongoing relationship model or that sort of thing, but it's also referral. That's where that hidden revenues is what you're describing.
Yeah.
As an aside, I wonder if customers would be nearly as tolerant of average hold times if we didn't have speakerphones. I mean, I recall just something I was doing. It was like a week or so ago. I think it was an airline, but I don't want to blame them automatically, but it was something like that. And I had to, and it was an investment company. And I had to sit on hold it was about 40 minutes before I could talk to someone. And it didn't bother me as much as it should have because I had it on speaker and I was just clickety clacking away on the others. Maybe that's how we need to fix this hold time issue, is just get rid of speakerphone. And then we're going to all be so frustrated holding it. And suddenly that'll fix everything, right? I don't know.
I think COVID actually, and what happened with COVID trained us to where we are today.
Yeah, that we've accepted things because of that. How maddening. Now, I don't want to take us down this rabbit hole. I really don't. But how maddening is it today to still hear, hold times are longer than usual. And it's just the automatic message. Or I haven't heard the COVID phrase in a while, but there was for a while after we were well out of the official elements of a pandemic due to COVID. You're like, yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. No more blaming that. Let's, aside from my hold time foolishness, or I'm sorry, my speakerphone foolishness here, now listeners are like, okay, I want the hidden revenue. Great that you've got this theory that it has to do with experience, but let's get actual nuts and bolts tactical here. How? What are some actual tactical ways that a company can really tap into and access that hidden revenue?
Okay. So there's two ways. One I'm going to talk about, which is direct, and then the second is indirect by reducing churn. Okay. So let's address the reducing churn. There's two things: maintaining great customer experience as best you can. And the second is actually improving your onboarding experience.
Okay.
If there's one lever you can pull, make that onboarding experience top notch. Because when customers become customers, and this is all of us, like just think of your own experience, your emotions are at a high point, right? Yeah. You're either hopeful, you're excited, or maybe you might be like, I'm not sure, but there's still in there some hope that your problem will be solved, whatever it is. That's that high point. Now, let's look at it that, things don't go so well.
Okay.
So your time to first value is very long. You're like, okay, I've been working with this for a while. I still don't, I've seen no benefit to this. Or in my experience, you're sold something that just doesn't exist. What happens very quickly is you go from this emotional high point, boom, into what's called buyer's remorse. And we've
Mhm.
all had buyer's remorse
Sure.
where you just regret that you purchased. You might be angry, you might be disappointed, you might be frustrated, you might be kicking yourself. Like there's all sorts of negative emotions. Once people are in buyer's remorse, once your customers are sitting there, it is a Herculean effort to get them back up to even just satisfied, never mind back to their high emotional state. So companies that do this well, and I'm going to give props to Amazon for this,
Okay.
and across their product lines. It's not just their marketplace. I have several Amazon services that I subscribe to for my business. And when you become a new customer, they do everything in their power right off the bat from that very first email to keep your emotions at that high point. You know, they let you know what you should do first, what resources you should use that will help your journey. And then, you know, they confirm that you made the right decision to buy from them. And it works. Even if you run into a little difficulty, because they've maintained that high level of emotion within you, it doesn't seem as bad as when you purchase and then you're like, okay, I didn't even get a confirmation email. I like, what's going on? And then now I have to reach out to a company and I'm like, I didn't hear anything from you. You took my money really quickly, but you're so slow to communicate.
As I look at my credit card statement, I see that it's gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the onboarding. The seeds of churn are planted right there. So that's exactly where you need to focus.
This is your captain speaking. I want to thank you for listening to CX Passport today. We've now reached our cruising altitude, so I'll turn that seatbelt sign off. While you're getting comfortable, hit that follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. Love it if you'd tell a friend about CX Passport. Leave a review so others can discover the show as well. Now, sit back and enjoy the rest of the episode.
I love that on two fronts. Three fronts actually. I love the phrase. that needs to be the Anita Toth T-shirt. Is the seeds of churn? I'm going to get it wrong, but the seeds of churn are sown in the onboarding process. What a great phrase! And the other is one of my most successful client engagements is exactly that. They had churn, they had cancellation. Where did we discover the issue? It was in onboarding, and even actually before onboarding in the sales process. And so that idea of making sure that customer experience looks end to end is so vital. And then the other is I have a personal story very recently about this. That there is, if you're a company and you want to send out mass emails or newsletters and that sort of stuff, you tend to buy a provider that does that. And there's a well-known one out there that I went with, and I felt completely unsupported in the onboarding process. And it was when I went from free to paid, and I thought, oh, well, here's where I'm finally going to get some explanation of how to really optimize this. I was invited to set up a 20-minute call where someone basically went through and listed just the benefits that I could read on a sales sheet. It wasn't knowing me and knowing what I wanted to get out of that product. Compare that to, and I won't name the former, but I will name the one I'm about to. Beehive is who I'm likely to switch to. And the amount of support that I have felt just simply through their email threads every day, there's here's how you can do this. Here's how you can do this. Here's and being supported through that, even though I'm on the free plan, it is still helping me feel onboarded, and I'm likely to stay and be much more loyal to Beehive than I am to my existing provider.
And we like to think that churn or deciding to churn is rational. It's not. It's emotional.
Oh yeah, I'm pissed.
Rationalize it second. I felt like crap. I didn't get what I was promised. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. To heck with this. I'm out of here. Right?
Yeah. That's so good, Anita. So let's get the onboarding right. What is it? Because I mentioned that 20-minute call. It wasn't that the person, I can say this, they weren't unfriendly. They were empathetic. They were kind, all those sorts of things. But they didn't help me. How can a company really get that onboarding right?
The best way to do it is put yourself in your customer's shoes.
Okay.
And it's really hard to do when, you're working with your product all day, all the ins and outs. So companies hire us to run customer interviews to find out, because we're a third party, We have no like sort of emotional attachment to what customers might say. We run customer interviews and then we ask those questions. And like you said, we go right back. Why did you choose our client's company? What was going on? What problem were you looking to solve? Like, to get a full picture of what's really going on in their heads. And then tying that to that emotional piece. What were you feeling? What were you hoping to get? Those are all like it's all emotional, right? And then asking those questions about what was it like first communications? What, what would you have liked to see if you didn't get this? What were you hoping would have happened? All of those things. And we dig down deep, and then it becomes very evident very quickly through running, even 15 customer interviews. We're not talking hundreds here, but going really in depth, you can start seeing what the patterns are. Okay, 6 out of the 15 said that this particular thing was either good or not good, and they want it changed. So it becomes like a roadmap on what you can focus on changing first.
Anita, I want to make sure that I haven't brought you at anywhere close to the buyer's remorse phase of joining me here on CX Passport. I want to keep you at that delight stage. So while we're not necessarily onboarding, I do want to give you a chance here. Hey, let's stop down and go in the first class lounge. Let's really keep you out of the buyer's remorse because we're in the first class lounge. We're going to move quickly here and have a little bit of fun. What is a dream travel location from your past?
A dream travel location from my past. I very fortunately just went to the Bahamas 3 weeks ago. That was a 5-year promise I made to my daughter, who came to me at 10 years old and said, "Mom, can we go swim with the pigs in the ocean?" And I went,
cool.
Pigs don't swim in the ocean. She, of course, holds up her little phone and goes, "Yes, they do." And actually, yes, they do. It's called Pig Beach. Can't get more descriptive than that. So we just
pretty much baked in the title. We're good there. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went. It was absolutely like just one of the best trips I've ever gone on. It was
Tell
amazing.
me, I mean, there's so much to the Bahamas, but I want to know specifically. Yes, there's so much because so many islands and all that, so beautiful. But this is the first time we've talked about Pig Beach on CX Passport. Are they just in the water because there's a tourist sort of thing that they're brought there, or is this their natural? What's the scene really like?
So it happened a while ago. I can't remember what it is, but these pigs are actually looked after by the government. So they have a vet that looks after them. They have healthcare, and they see the boats approaching the beach, and they just swim en masse up to the sides of the boat. It is wild, and they have one boar. He is huge, several hundred pounds. He's and they neuter some of them, others they don't. They leave their tusks
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't mess around.
It's wild. And they had these piglets, and
that'd be so cute.
I don't want to encourage this, but you were able to, scoop them up and hold them for.
Oh, that's right. No, that's off the record. We're not going to talk about that, but my gosh, how cute. It's sort of like Stingray Beach in the Caymans. You're not supposed to do that, but my gosh, it's kind of cute and freaky when they're doing it. So yes, so we won't encourage that, but it is kind of a cute. Let's all imagine that it happens, and it's just a cute imagination. There it is. I don't know what's going to compete with Pig Beach, but what is a dream travel location you've not been to yet?
I want to go to London.
Oh.
London is it. I was just talking to my friend in Brighton the other day, and I said to her, I think it's time that I come for a visit over the pond.
I support that for sure. Get on over there, meet that friend from Brighton, and then y'all have a little bit of fun there. And have you been to other parts of the UK, or it's just
never?
Okay.
So it's going to be there, and I have another friend in Wales. So I'm going to
cool.
make a.
All right, you're going to hit several. Nice, very nice. What is a favorite thing of yours to eat?
There's so many things. Okay, I pretty much will shove anything in my mouth once. I'm one of those people. Okay, fine.
I like food.
I'll try. I do. I love to eat. I can't, and the problem is I can't pick a favorite, but there are some things like chicken paprika.
Oh, yeah.
I am Hungarian, so
Ooh,
that's
yeah.
one of my favorites. If it's made like the old way with, handmade noodles and all of that.
Oh, nice. Okay, that sounds
Mhm.
good. Well, with that spirit towards food, I'm not sure what your answer to this will be, but what is something growing up you were forced to eat, but you hated as a kid?
I know this. My mom made this nasty chop suey. And it was just, she tried so hard and she'd make it. And every time she'd make it, I'd just be like, oh, I don't want to eat this. But
Uh,
it was just this horrible, I don't know what she did wrong, but it just was terrible.
Oh man, I do. Listeners, viewers, I love this question because I love the physical and then the emotional reaction that it evokes. Oh, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
Sadly, Anita, it's time for us to exit the lounge, however. So what is one travel item, not including your phone, not including your passport, that you will not leave home without?
So if I'm flying specifically, they're called airplanes. I'm somebody who experiences wicked pain on a descent. So it has to do, yeah, you can read all about what happens physically,
Mhm.
but it means my hearing is actually muffled for several days and nothing
Yikes.
I can do at that point gets rid of it. But these things, they're called earplanes, and they're actually a different type of earplug
Uh-huh.
to help with the change in pressure as you descend. And I used it. I used them with when we traveled a few weeks ago, and I had no pain, no muffling. It was wonderful. It was fantastic.
Well, Anita, I hope that the descent out of the first class lounge did not require earplanes, but what an interesting, I'm going to have to look that one up.
Yeah.
I thankfully I don't have any issue with it, but I know many that do. And so
Yeah.
that's an interesting one. So earplanes, that'll be fun to look at. Now that we've gotten our refresh in the lounge, I want to go on a slightly different path. And it's one that I don't know that I've actually talked about here on CX Passport, or guests have brought into it before. It's all smiles. It's all loving when we talk about retaining customers, because that's great. We keep our customers. But what about customers a company should fire? How can a company know which customers don't fit, and how should they handle it?
So, two things. First of all, you must have support from your senior management.
Yeah,
Full
well,
stop. If they do not support it, it is something that's very difficult to do. One of the easiest or quickest ways to figure out which customers might not be a great fit and therefore should be, their contract shouldn't be renewed,
Mhm.
are the ones that tend to have an lots
There we go.
of support tickets, but like it's a gradient, right? And
You
you'll
see this huge
that-
outlier. Yeah.
yeah, you'll see these customers that are just reaching out constantly. They don't seem to ever seem to get the same traction with your product or service. Those are the ones that you should look at more closely. And are they a good fit? Now, good fit implies, though, that you have some sort of ideal customer profile or something like that
Yeah.
that you can compare them to and be like, you know what? These customers never should have been sold to. Full stop.
Yeah.
And so you need to have something to compare them to. And your ideal customer profiles should be the first place you look. And then the second is look at what even you have your best customers. They're spending the most, they're loyal, they're referring often. Then you have your sort of group, your biggest group in the middle, which again has a gradient. And then sort of these customers that just never really seem to get much traction. And it's starting to compare what's different about this group here, these poor fit customers, versus our middle group versus our best group. And do some number crunching and figure it out.
There's a thought that's unformed in my head. Hopefully by the end of this sentence, I'll get it formed. Is there a risk of letting those customers go when those could be the most vocal canaries in your coal mine of what's broken? Like, how do you balance? I want to get rid of these customers because they're just a drain on my company, versus wait, these are customers that have insights that matter. there's a balance there. How can we make sure we sit in the right place in that balance?
Right. Fantastic question. Number one is those ideal customer profiles and being able to compare those customers to that ideal. Like, how far away are they from that? But second of all, you're right. They might be canaries in the coal mine. And that's why it is critical to be running customer interviews. You should be running them with onboarding, during onboarding, after onboarding, depending on how long your process is. And then during, key points in the customer journey. So pre-renewal, post-renewal, and always, always, always running churn interviews to find out why customers are leaving.
Anita, there's always going to be that tension between wanting to keep a customer because you want customers, they have revenue, they're giving you revenue, and then recognizing, hey, they just simply aren't the right fit. And so I like how you've taken us back to that ICP. That's the part that matters, and that's where you can have that difficult conversation. I'm aware that we forgot, and I put it all on me because I got excited with the onboarding conversation. That's the problem, Anita. You get me excited, and then I forget the other thing. You had a second thing that you wanted to talk about, and let's talk about that hidden revenue. The second thing, let's close out with that. Let's end with, what is that second piece of hidden revenue that we need to explore?
Right. And this is direct. So remember how I said focusing on onboarding is related to reducing churn. So that's indirect, revenue gains. The most direct is referrals. And most companies do not have a referral system in place. So it's different than customer advocates. And I must say this because some people think it's the same thing. Oh, well, we have people who advocate for us or part of our advocacy group. Hey, that's wonderful. But often, and I have found this, I have used a product or service where I'm like, I want to tell my friends about it, but I have no mechanism to do it besides just telling them. And then what they go off and do afterwards, I have no idea. But we know referrals are extremely powerful in terms of the speed to revenue, right? If I'm a great customer and I'm referring someone else who's likely similar to me, then that sales process is, your sales cycle's shorter. It's going to be easier to get them onboarded. And then more than that, they are likely to stay a loyal customer. And with that, refer their own. So it becomes this beautiful loop, but most companies do not have a mechanism in place to identify who might be great customers to refer. And second of all, a way to track how much revenue is actually coming in through referrals.
There's a theme in there that is one that is dear to my heart, and that is there's a process you're describing. We talk about experience. We talk about how experience drives revenue growth. Well, you have to have a process behind some of these experience elements to be able to capture the referrals that you're describing. I am curious because intuitively I would think that, well, of course, that's one of the easiest ways to revenue because it's pre-sold. If you're being referred, the person's already warm to you. Why would companies not have this in place? What have you seen out there when you've gone in and helped a company put this in place? Why did they not have it before?
Because it's not easy to do. It's as simple as that.
All right, well, there we go.
Isn't. And, for some, a lot of it, Rick, and the reason why I'm stumbling over my words is a lot of it depends on what you're selling. Yeah. So for some, it can be as simple as a link. Here, we'll give you your link and you can refer. Like my bank does that, right? I have my own special link. And when I send it to the person, they click on it. It's easy to track. But for my accountant, let's say, I don't have a special link. So it's asking what you can do. And this is a really early way until you operationalize this further, is just asking in the sales process. Did somebody refer you? Oh, who was that? But then it's got to go somewhere to be
do something
tracked.
with it. Yeah.
You can't just be like, oh, okay, that's great. So-and-so referred you. And
story.
The last piece of this is some sort of reward. So going back to my bank, every time I refer someone, they give me $100 and the person who becomes a new customer also gets $100. That's our reward. Very
Mhm.
simple.
Mhm.
But with my accountant, the awesome thing that he and I'm teaching him this, by the way, he's learning, is just to start looking at who has referred. And if they've referred more than 2 people, send them something. I don't care but it can't be swag. It's got to be something that
Yeah.
is useful to them. And a handwritten note. I am telling you, those handwritten notes, and put it in the mail. When people get that, it is because they're holding on to it. Again, it's that emotion. What emotion does it bring up that somebody took time to handwrite a note to you to express their gratitude?
We are going to end right there, because yes, it is something. When I get a handwritten note, what the heck? Holy cow. It's amazing. And absolutely. And and I'm sitting here thinking about, I like your choice of the accountant as the example, because a lot of folks might be thinking of big referrals, the big B2Bs or that kind of thing. No, this can be your small business. It can be a self-storage unit. It could be it could be your cleaners, whatever that is. Creating that business referral loyalty to find that hidden revenue. Anita, this was good. It was wide ranging, as I'd expected, and I'm glad for that. If folks wanted to get to know a little bit more about you, a little bit more about that hidden revenue, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
My website. So it's ati.ac. And you can reach out to me there. I am on LinkedIn. Things are changing over there, so you can find me on LinkedIn. I've been kind of quiet just because I recently moved. Then we went on that trip. Halfway through the move. Crazy.
Good choice.
I figured we were already in suitcases and stuff. Why not just...
Actually, you know what? You're right. That is a pretty darn good choice. I take that back. Well, Anita, I'll get that. I'll get the website and the LinkedIn path to Anita in the show notes. Listeners, viewers, you know the drill. Scroll down and click those and connect and learn more from Anita. Anita, I did enjoy today's conversation. It was fun, and certainly, along with all of the wonderful CX, hidden revenue, churn busting wisdom that you shared, I now have a new place to travel. I am going to find about this Pig Beach and get over there as quickly as possible. Anita, it's been a delight. Thank you for being on CX Passport.
Oh, this has been a lot of fun, Rick. Thank you very much. And thanks to your audience for listening.
Thanks for joining us this week on CX Passport. If you like today's episode, I have 3 quick next steps for you. Click subscribe on the CX Passport YouTube channel or your favorite podcast app. Next, leave a comment below the video or a review in your favorite podcast app so others can find and enjoy CX Passport too. Then head over to cxpassport.com for show notes and resources that can help you create tangible business results by delivering great customer experience. Until next time, I'm Rick Denton, and I believe the best meals are served outside and require a passport.